Year 1, it's Miss Winchester here. I thought we would have a go at doing our lesson outside today for a bit of a change. Today we're going to be doing our OneStart, our very first OneStart shared reading lesson online. So we'll see how we go. But what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be reading the book and asking lots of questions. What you can do at home is after I've asked the question, you can pause the video so that you have a chance to talk about what we are discussing in the question that I have asked. So I will help you as much as I can. We'll see how we go. So discuss it with your learning buddy at home, whoever that might be, and let's go. So today our very new OneStart book is Crunch the Crocodile. So Crunch the Crocodile is written by Josephine Crosser and it is illustrated by Carol McLean Carr. So on the front cover I can see a crocodile. Have you ever seen a crocodile before? I remember last year when we went to Lone Pine we saw a crocodile, so lots of you would have seen a crocodile at Lone Pine. So I predict that this book is going to be about a hungry crocodile. What do you predict this book is going to be about? I can see that the book is set in a river because the crocodile is laying in the water. Have you ever been to a river before? So Crunch the Crocodile. Once there was a peaceful river. So I can see lots of animals on this page. What can you see? On the banks of this river lived a greedy crocodile. His name was Crunch. All the creatures of the river would tremble when they heard his voice. Crunch and munch, crunch and munch. My name is Crunch and I want my lunch. Oh, it says in the book that the crocodile is greedy. What do you think greedy means? And why do you think he was greedy? When the fish heard him coming, they would swim away. When the frogs heard him coming, they would hop away. When the worms heard him coming, they would wriggle away. When the snakes heard him coming, they would slither away. And when the lizards heard him coming, they would run. I can see lots of animals. Look at all those beautiful animals. Have you ever seen any of these animals in real life before? One morning, very early, before the sun brought warmth to the damp river air, the creatures held a secret meeting. Crunch had made them all afraid. What do you think afraid means? And why do you think they're feeling afraid? We're too small to fight him, said a fish. That's why we swim away. He's too big for all of us, said one of the frogs. He creeps up on us when we sit in our nests, said a bird sadly. He squashes us into the mud with his feet, said a worm. He snaps at us when we lie on the rocks to warm ourselves in the sun, said a lizard and a snake together. What do you think the crocodile will do if he finds out that they're having a secret meeting? The creatures plotted and planned. The first rays of light were touching the trees when they quietly went back to their homes. It wasn't long before they heard that familiar sound. Crunch and munch, crunch and munch. My name is Crunch and I want my lunch. The animals are going back to their homes. What homes can you see? hated that sound. But today, they had been waiting for it. Today, they had a plan. As Crunch came creeping and searching and snapping his great toothy jaws. Oh, I wonder what their plan is going to be. The fish swam towards him, the frogs hopped towards him, the birds flew towards him, the worms wriggled towards him, the snakes slithered towards him, and the lizards ran. Look at them all together. Why are they all together going in the same direction? Crunch saw them coming, and his bulgy eyes bulged even bigger. The fish were chasing him, the frogs were chasing him, the birds and lizards and snakes and worms were all coming nearer and nearer. What a big, gigantic, monstrous meal Crunch would have. All he had to do was open his mouth wide and let them come in. Why is Crunch on his back with his mouth open wide? But Crunch was not only greedy, he was also a terrible coward. He could hear the lizards' feet tapping as they ran, the birds' wings flapping as they flew, and all the fish's tails swimming as they swam. All the creatures stared at Crunch as they came closer and closer. Why is he starting to look worried? He looks very worried now. Look at him now. Crunch turned. Crunch ran. He slipped in the mud and splashed in the water as he hurried and scurried away. Crunch kept going. He didn't want any swimming, running, hopping, wriggling or flapping things coming after him. How do we know Crunch is being a coward? What is he doing? The creatures of the river stopped and listened. Crunch kept on running. The birds twittered, the frogs croaked, the worms glugged in the mud. So it says in the book that the creatures stopped and listened. Why do you think they stopped and listened? Maybe they stopped and listened to make sure that Crunch kept running away, so that they knew that they would be safe and that the plan had worked. Then the creatures turned from the chase. The fish swam, the frogs hopped, the birds flew, the worms wriggled, the snakes slithered, and the lizards stood up and ran home to their own part of the river. Describe how the animals would be feeling now. By evening, the river was peaceful again. When the shadows of the trees were long and dark upon the water, and wind was sweeping ripples through the reeds, the creatures of the river fell asleep. So the river looks peaceful. What do you think that means? The river looks peaceful. And that's the end of our story, Crunch the Crocodile. So I think the animals are feeling much, much better now. How do you think they would be feeling? And how do you think Crunch is feeling? Why do you think Crunch was such a greedy crocodile? Do you think that Crunch has learnt his lesson, or do you think he'll come back and be greedy again? Why do you think that? Okay, Year 1, that's the end of our very first OneStart shared reading online. I hope you enjoyed it. Talk lots, and I will see you again soon. Bye!